Red Bull's petition to review Formula 1 rival Lewis Hamilton's penalty in the British Grand Prix has failed, and the FIA's decision doesn't reflect too well on the case presented. Hamilton was given a 10-second time penalty at Silverstone for being predominantly to blame for the collision that ended Red Bull driver Max Verstappen's race and sent him to hospital for precautionary checks. However, Red Bull felt that punishment was insufficient as Hamilton recovered from the penalty to win, while the team was left with a $1.8 million repair bill for the damage caused to Verstappen's RB16B. So it launched a bid to get the case revisited and then failed at the first hurdle. Before we crack on with this video, we'd like to say a quick thank you to the channel Crash Along for their 3D animation of the accident. Please go and check out their channel for more of this sort of thing, where you'll find animations of famous F1 incidents, old and new. A video meeting with the British Grand Prix stewards was held on Thursday at the Hungarian Grand Prix. To succeed in getting the review, Red Bull needed to convince the stewards that it had a significant and relevant new element which was unavailable to the party seeking review at the time of the decision concerned. But it was unsuccessful, and the stewards' verdict makes it clear that Red Bull was a long way from meeting the requirements. Red Bull's case was partly based on GPS data that was already available to the stewards at the time of the original decision, and partly its own simulated events. The stewards' summary stated that Red Bull's evidence consisted of several slides that showed the GPS data of Hamilton and Verstappen into Copse, GPS data from Hamilton's successful pass on Charles Leclerc at Copse later in the race, alleged lap simulations of the incident, and a reenactment of Hamilton's line based on a lap driven by Alex Albon. Unsurprisingly, the petition was dismissed on the grounds that Red Bull's new evidence was not something it discovered, but something created by the team specifically for the purpose of submission. Additionally, the GPS data was evidence that was available at the time of the original decision. The stewards concluded Red Bull clearly didn't satisfy the requirements to merit a review, and it means Hamilton's 10-second penalty stands, and so does his race victory, which narrowed the gap to Verstappen in the championship to just 8 points. The stewards also said they noted with some concern certain allegations made by Red Bull, but they did not say what those allegations were. All that was noted was that while the allegation may or may not have been relevant and may have been addressed directly in any decision had the petition for review been granted, the stewards were not commenting beyond that because the petition was dismissed. Mercedes issued a statement shortly after the outcome of the petition to review was published, welcoming the stewards' verdict and, much more interestingly, criticising Red Bull's conduct. The statement said, "In addition to bringing this incident to a close, we hope that this decision will mark the end of a concerted attempt by the senior management of Red Bull Racing to tarnish the good name and sporting integrity of Lewis Hamilton, including in the documents for their unsuccessful right of review." In the aftermath of the Grand Prix, Red Bull had lambasted Hamilton, calling it dirty, desperate and amateur, but Hamilton was never explicitly accused of intentionally taking Verstappen out. We understand that Mercedes was angered by implications along those lines from Red Bull in public and in its submission to the FIA for this review. Meanwhile, the stewards were concerned by an implication that their impartiality was being questioned. Despite the obvious juxtaposition of Mercedes saying it hopes this verdict will draw a line under the whole affair while dropping such explosive remarks in the same statement, this is unlikely to be the end of the story. There was already a big spotlight on the two title rivals, and they did nothing to calm the situation with their own comments ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Verstappen said he was called by Hamilton in the gap between the races, but that appears to have resolved little, given he stands by his criticism of Hamilton's driving and post-race celebrations. Meanwhile, Hamilton defended his and Mercedes' conduct and said he would attempt the same pass again if the situation was repeated. Team bosses Christian Horner and Toto Wolff don't appear willing to pour too much more fuel onto the flames now the formal side of this matter is closed. Wolff was reluctant to expand on Mercedes' statement from Thursday night, although he did appear to take aim at Red Bull's post-race criticism of Hamilton by saying that he believes teams should try to de-escalate situations like this rather than make them even more polarising. Speaking about Mercedes' statement, Horner said he was surprised by it. He called it a bit antagonistic, and he made clear that Red Bull's push for the review was never anything personal towards Hamilton, but just a case of leaving no stone unturned in the push for marginal gains. Red Bull reserve driver Albon was on Pirelli tyre test duty after the British Grand Prix, but this test took place on Tuesday, July the 20th. The stewards noted that Albon completed his reenactment on Thursday, July 22nd, the same day Red Bull released footage of a day he had completed driving the 2019 RB15. It's unclear if Red Bull completed that day solely with the purpose of reenacting Hamilton's line in the incident, but based on the limited information provided by the stewards, it was used at least partly for this purpose. Using the 2019 car would have given Red Bull two clear benefits for such an exercise. First, unlike the so-called filming days that allow teams to complete a couple of 100-kilometre runs with current cars, testing of a so-called previous car, which is something from 2 seasons prior or older, is free from any mileage restrictions. That would give Albon as many attempts as required to complete the reenactment, and oh how times have changed for F1 test drivers. Second, testing of previous cars is exempt from F1's new for 2021 budget cap, so Red Bull could commit to this work without it coming out of its restricted annual spending. A team of Red Bull's means therefore had ample opportunity to complete the reenactment, but what was the motive? It was probably to support Red Bull's theory that Hamilton's attempted pass on Verstappen would have ended with the Mercedes going off track had the two cars not made contact. Red Bull and Verstappen have contested that Hamilton's angle of entry and speed into Copse meant he was guaranteed to run wide and hit Verstappen's car. Employing the unfortunate Albon to try to replicate Hamilton's execution of the corner on lap 1 and then mapping the trajectory without the contact Hamilton suffered was presumably an effort to prove this. Whatever Red Bull found was sufficient for it to consider worth committing to the petition, which was lodged the following day on Friday, July the 23rd, and the Albon lap was included as evidence. But even if Red Bull could have conclusively proved that Hamilton would not have made the corner, it would achieve little else. It would not have indicated intent and would only have reinforced the original steward's decision that Hamilton was the guilty party. And that's before we get into the specifics of why a different driver in a 2019 Red Bull and on demonstration Pirelli tyres would not produce an exact replica of what Hamilton did in a 2021 Mercedes. So while some elements of the reenactment can be easily explained, one still needs to be answered. What exactly was Red Bull trying to achieve with this? The same question may also be asked of the petition itself, given the nature of the steward's dismissal. It's hard to imagine this verdict is the end of the debate over this incident. Make sure you join the discussion and have your say in the comments, and we'll do our best to keep you up to speed with the ongoing fallout with new videos and posts via the community section of our page.